We talk about stats all the time here on Locked On Vols, but truly some stats that matter. We're going to go inside the numbers, Pro Football Focus, defensive coverage grades, run blocking grades, all that from Tennessee against Texas A&M and what it can mean moving forward for a big one down in Tuscaloosa. That and a whole lot more at your Wednesday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Wednesday morning, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Vols. It is your team every single day. Can't thank you enough for being here. Appreciate you every day for making Locked On Vols your first listen every single day. This episode is brought to you in part by Jace Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase the Jace case, providing you with personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50-plus infections. Get yours today at jacemedical.com. That's J-A-S-E medical.com. Got a fun show coming up. We're going to take a look at the Pro Football Focus stats that matter and then get into Award Wednesday. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right down into it. We'll start on the offensive side of the football as we do every single week. And Tennessee's offensive grades per Pro Football Focus, as you'd expect in that A&M game, even though you ran for a lot of yards, not the greatest. The highest grader for Tennessee, and again, grades, they are what they are. They're a grain of, take them with a grain of salt, guys. It's something. It's not everything. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the scale at the bottom. But a quick reminder: elite is 90 to 99. Very good is 80 to 89. Above average starter is 70 to 79. Average starter is 60 to 69. Below average starter is 50 to 59. And less than 50 is considered a backup level player. Somebody watching the show one time thought I was carrying water for Joe Milton because I was calling him an average player, not a below average player. My simple response was, well, you don't know how to interpret a grading scale. Again, 90 to 99 is elite. 80 to 89, very good. 70 to 79, above average starter. 60 to 69, average starter. 50 to 59, below average starter. And below 50, that's a backup level player. Again, this is according to Pro Football Focus. Something, not everything. Cooper Mays, the highest grader for Tennessee's offense, 76.7. He played all 77 offensive snaps. It's good to see for him, getting stronger, getting more condition coming off the bye. Jaylen Wright, 75.3. He played 37 snaps and ran wild all day, so no surprise he's up there. McCallan Castle's graded at 72.7. Chaz Nimrod in his first start, I thought he played well, 68.8. Dane Davis, who came in and played 32 snaps at right tackle, he graded out at 63.7. I thought that was a good effort from Dane Davis. Joe Milton, who I thought did not play well at all, 62.7, so his Pro Football Focus grade wasn't horrendous. You go down here to some of the starting offensive linemen. Javonte Spraggins, 59%. That's not good. Ollie Lane, 50%. That's not good. And Gerald Mincy, 43%. And he played 45 snaps before having to come back. But those snap counts, Wright played 37 snaps. McCastle's played 38 snaps. Jacob Warren played 44 snaps. Jabari Small played 24 snaps. Dylan Sampson played 16 snaps. Caleb Webb played 32 snaps. And really, that's pretty much all the people that played offensively. Excuse me. We go and look at more, dive into some of those numbers. Let's go ahead and look at Joe Milton, shall we? Joe Milton, again, did not complete a pass over 20 yards down the field. He was 0 for 5 in that regard. From 10 to 19, Joe Milton was 3 for 5. Yeah, he was 3 for 5 for 38 yards. So, again, not great, but he did complete some intermediate passes, and it wasn't at a horrible percentage, but not for a whole lot of yards. Line of scrimmage to 10 yards. So, within 10 yards, Joe Milton was 5 for 8, and he had 40 yards. 40 yards, 5 for 8 and 40 yards. And then behind the line of scrimmage, Joe Milton completed 3 of 3 for 21 yards. So again, not a whole lot of yards here. He only finished with 100 yards on the day. And it just wasn't a good day throwing the football for Joe Milton. Again, we talked about it. Ramel Keaton just stopped running on a go route down the near sideline. Ramel Keaton dropped an interception. There was an obvious defensive pass interference that wasn't called on Chaz Nimrod. Again, we shoulda, coulda, woulda, as we do this every single week, and it's fair. So I don't want to sit here and say every single throw is Joe Milton's fault, because it's not, and it never is. The fact of the matter is, it's still just not good enough, and we know that, and we've said this a million times, and so we'll move on. Joe Milton was kept clean 69.2% of his dropbacks. He was under pressure 30% of his dropbacks. Joe Milton was not blitzed 46% of the time, and he was blitzed 53% of the time. When he was not blitzed, strangely enough, his grade was lower at 55%. When he was blitzed, his grade was at 64%. That's a weird little anomaly, and if you take back past weeks' charts, because typically he's not been as good when blitzed compared to when not blitzed. But technically, according to the Pro Football Focus grading scale, he was better in that regard against Texas A&M. Let's go look at the pass blocking grades for the offensive line. Cooper Mays, 82%. It's great to see. Jaylen Wright, 80%, over 15 pass blocking reps. That's good to see at the running back position. Dane Davis, 79%. That's great to see at right tackle. He had 11 pass blocking reps, did Dane Davis. Javonte Spraggins, 78%, 31 pass blocking reps. Good to see. John Campbell, 77%. He had 31 pass blocking reps. So the numbers look pretty good, honestly. And then we get down to some ones that do not look good at all. Jabari Small, 58%. That's okay. It's below average, but he had 10 pass blocking reps. Jacob Warren, 16 pass blocking reps, 35.1. That's not good at all. Ollie Lane. Now, these last two are not good. Ollie Lane, 31 pass blocking reps according to Pro Football Focus with a pass blocking grade of 19.3. That's not good. That's bad. And Gerald Mincey's was worse, if you can believe it. Gerald Mincey, again, he didn't play the whole game, but he had 20 pass blocking reps. 18.7% was his pass blocking grade. It's not good. It's got to get better. It's got to get a whole lot better. Because those are two essential starters on the offensive line at 19 and 18% pass blocking grade. It's not good. Let's shift over to run blocking, shall we? Which you would imagine, now there was a lot more opportunities, so a lot more times where you can get a check or an X, right? But you would imagine these grades would be pretty decent. Tennessee's pass blocking grades are pretty decent, minus two starters who really kind of anchored that grading scale down. Cooper Mays continued to have a good game. Run blocking, Cooper Mays graded out at 71%, 46 reps. Jacob Warren, 71%, 28 reps. Good to see. Receivers up there, Keaton, Nimrod, Webb, 62, 61, and 61% run blocking. It's good to see. Linemen block for first downs, wide receivers block for touchdowns. It's great to see. McCallum Castles, I'm going to continue to say, great to see. McCallum Castles, 60%, 22 reps. Let's see here. We're the linemen, shall we? All right, here we go. Javonte Spraggins, 59.5% on 46 reps. Gerald Mincey, 58.1% on 25 reps. John Campbell, 55.4% on 46 reps. And then Ollie Lane, 54.5% on 46 reps. My question is, you run for it, you take away penalties, you take away sacks. Tennessee pretty much ran for 300 yards against the number one rush defense in the SEC. Still, the official stats say 232. And though these aren't astronomically bad grades like we saw in a couple of those pass blocking grades with 19 and 18%, you're getting a lot of these offensive linemen at 58%, 57%, 55%, 54%. Those are considered below average starters. Okay? He had a hell of a game running the football. So this is kind of where it puzzles. I understand good plays can happen sometimes when you fail at your individual job. It just takes one guy to mess up. I understand that, but it doesn't mean that the play is going to be busted every time that one person messes up. This game of football, you got to love it. But this is where just kind of I'm kind of perplexed here because Tennessee ran the ball so well, yet 4 of your starting 5 offensive linemen had run blocking grades in the 50s. Again, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So anyway, is what it is, and that's a look at the Pro Football Focus grades on the offensive side. Again, snap counts. Taking a look at Joe Milton. We'll look at Joe Milton's season stats later in the week as well, per Pro Football Focus. Directional, 20 yards down the field, all that type of stuff. What's all this mean for Alabama? We'll continue to break that down as well. We're going to take a look at the defensive side of the football, those Pro Football Focus, those stats that matter. That is coming up next right here on Locked on Vols. Do want to tell you about our friends over at Jace Medical. You can get your Jace case today. Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. That's why Jace Medical offers the Jace case. The Jace case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use and gives you peace of mind so that you're not just hoping that you have access to medication in an emergency. Jase Medical makes you have the medication in hand, or Jase Medical allows you to have that medication in hand. Jase Medical is simple. They handle everything from the online evaluation to licensed pharmacy medication delivery and ongoing consultation and care. Don't get caught unprepared. Get 20% off these life-saving antibiotics today from Jase Medical by using my code LOCKEDON at checkout at jasemedical.com. Again, locked on at checkout for 20% off these life-saving antibiotics today at jasemedical.com. jasemedical.com, that is Jase medical.com. So big thanks to Jase Medical for being a proud sponsor of the show. And then, as always, our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can get up to $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel today, but you might be a little unsure, I encourage you to do so right now because these options are super easy, super user-friendly. You can look at the spreads. You can look at those totals, hit the unders, but you want to hit the overs because hitting the overs is fun. You know, we watch football games. We want to hit for the overs, right? We're not all like myself and, defensive guy. We want to hit for those overs. We like points and a whole lot more, but the player props are fun, especially if you're new to it. So you can take a player, say that prop is 3.5 catches. Is he going to have 4 catches or are you going to have 3 catches or less than 3 catches? We'll find out. That's a simple tool that's a simple example of what a player prop can be. First quarter spreads, all that type of stuff. All that and more can be found over at FanDuel Sportsbook. I encourage you to visit FanDuelSportsbook.com/lockedon and get to kick off the NFL season today. That is FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. All right, we continue back here on a Wednesday edition of Locked On Vols, Pro Football Focus Day. And we're taking a look at the stats that matter. Again, if you're listening and you don't see the scale in front of you like you have it on YouTube, I'll remind you, elite category, 90 to 99. And we do have an elite player this week. Very good is 80 to 89, above average starters, 70 to 79, average starters, 60 to 69, below average starters, 50 to 59, and less than 50 is considered a backup level player. You look over here at the Tennessee defensive grades, and somebody asked me a couple weeks ago, what's it going to take for James Pearce to be considered elite per Pro Football Focus? Well, that Texas A&M game, James Pearce was considered elite. 92.2% was his grade on 34 snaps. He was really, really good. He was solid. He finished the day with 3 tackles, a sack, 2 TFLs. Official stats gave him credit for 5 quarterback hurries. Pro Football Focus gave him credit for 7 quarterback hurries. Great to see. Kamal Hadden, who is playing at an elite level as a cover corner so far this season, 84.5 on 60 snaps. Bryson Eason, who continues to just get better and better and better on the defensive front, 79.0 on 30 snaps. Amari Thomas, 76.4 on 28 snaps. Wesley Walker, 73.4 on 68 snaps. Croc Garland, I thought, flashed in this football game. Croc Garland, who played 26 snaps, 72.3. Elijah Herring, 70.3 on 46 snaps. Tyler Barron, 69.5 on 45 snaps. He continues to play, knock on wood, he continues to play more like high-level snaps compared to what he did his first 3 years on campus. Aaron Beasley, 68%, 62 snaps. Tamari McDonald, 67%, 64 snaps. Let's see here. Roman Harrison, 63%, 38 snaps. A lot of people have been asking about Caleb Perry. Caleb Perry is a package player on third downs, okay? It's good to see him out there. I mean, Elijah Herring was that guy last year as a true freshman. They put 3 linebackers out there, and he'll come off the edge a little bit. It's a great opportunity for Caleb Perry. I do not believe Caleb Perry has jumped Arian Carter or Jeremiah Thielen in the pecking order. I just believe Caleb Perry is a package player. And that means he's getting about 15 snaps a game, so that's awesome for him. A lot of people have been asking about Caleb Perry. Anyway, Caleb Perry, 63.7% on 12 snaps. Gabe Judy Lawley, 62.8% on 58 snaps. Tennessee's cornerback's playing pretty well. Jalen McCullough, 60% on 68 snaps. Even these grades down here at the bottom are not bad. Danico Slaughter on 10 snaps, 52%. So, again, he played 6 snaps coming back from injury against South Carolina. He played 10 snaps against Texas A&M, but it's kind of hard right now to get Gabe Judy Lawley and Kamal Hadden off the field. I got to be honest with you. And then Arian Carter graded out as Tennessee's lowest linebacker, and this is kind of surprising here, Tennessee's lowest player, 32%, 9 reps. He's not playing at an all-SEC freshman level right now, but I do not believe Arian Carter was Tennessee's worst player by a country mile at 32%. So just kind of is what it is. Take it with a grain of salt. Let's look first at some missed tackles. For the first time since the opening game against Virginia, Tennessee missed less than 10 tackles. Tennessee missed only 7 tackles in this football game. I think he missed 7 against Virginia, and then let's see here, Austin Peay, Florida, UTSA, South Carolina had all missed more than 10 tackles. But Tennessee only missed 7 tackles in this football game. 1 missed tackle from Jalen McCullough, 1 missed tackle from Tamarian McDonald, 2 from Aaron Beasley, 1 from Tyler Barron, 1 from Elijah Herring, 1 from Bryson Eason. So, yeah, get that number down. Again, last time you went on the road, you missed like 7 tackles in the second quarter alone. Make those tackles, especially on the road, so you don't have a disastrous quarter like you did in the Florida. Why am I saying this? Well, Tennessee's about to go on the road again in Tuscaloosa. Again, no places are the same, but Tennessee just needs to play better on the road. So 7 missed tackles. Really, really awesome to see. Let's go ahead and look at the pass rush, shall we? So I mentioned James Pearce. Pro Football Focus credited him with 7 quarterback hurries, which was awesome. The official, 7 QB H's, which can either be QB hits or QB hurries. It's the strangest stat interpreted all the man in college football. But James Pearce had 4 hits on the quarterback and 3 hurries, so we had 7 QB H's altogether. Let's see. Tyler Barron had 3. These are quarterback hurries / quarterback hits. Kerrod Garland had 2. Bryson Eason had 3. Roman Harrison had 4. Amari Thomas had 2. Elijah Simmons had 2. Kamal Hadden had 1. Dominic Bailey had 2. Jalen McCullough had 1. Elijah Herring had 1. Arian Carter had 1. Tamarian McDonald had 2. I mean, Tennessee beat the crap out of Max Johnson. And the sack numbers don't reflect it because you only had 2 sacks and 5 TFLs. But when you're getting 17 hits on your quarterback and on 14 hurries, I mean, guys, let's do the math here. I'm not a brainiac. But that's 31 times you're hitting your quarterback. You're touching your quarterback. You are affecting the quarterback in one way, shape, or another. That's what you want. That is what you want for sure. Awesome stuff whenever you look at this one. If you're Tim Banks and if you're Rodney Gardner, you're chopping at the bit, man. Chopping at the bit. Let's look at the coverage grades, shall we? That's what I really, really like to look at every single week. Kamal Hadden, just continuing to play at an elite level defensively. I bookmarked something earlier in the week that I want to pull up right now. Let's see here. Kamal Hadden against Texas A&M in Week 7. He was targeted 7 times. He allowed 2 catches, okay? He was targeted 7 times, allowed 2 catches for 32 yards. He had 1 interception. He had 2 pass breakups. 6.5 passer rating allowed, meaning when they were targeting Kamal Hadden, he allowed a 6.5 passer rating to the quarterback. 85.5 coverage grade. Kamal Hadden continues to play at just some type of level. And then on the season, I think I have a Kamal Hadden on the season bookmarked over here somewhere. Let's see here. Yeah, Kamal Hadden on the season. 8 pass breakups, 14th in FBS, 2nd in the SEC. 3 interceptions, that's 12th in FBS, 5th in the SEC. 11 pass defended, that's 12th in college football. 1 pick 6, a 90.3 coverage grade, that's 1st in the SEC as a defensive back. Kamal Hadden having yourself a year. Let's see here. Wesley Walker was targeted once, gave up no receptions. Elijah Herring targeted twice, gave up 2 receptions for 24 yards. Tamarian McDonald was targeted 7 times, gave up 4 receptions for 68 yards. Gabe Judy-Lawley targeted 7 times, gave up 3 receptions for 46 yards. He had an interception. Aaron Beasley targeted twice, gave up 2 receptions. Caleb Perry targeted twice, no receptions. Jalen McCullough targeted once, no receptions. Danico Slaughter targeted once, gave up 1 reception for 21 yards and a first down. I think that was his first play in the football game. And then Arian Carter was targeted once, gave up 1 reception for 20 yards in this football game. See, what else do we want to look up here on defense? We look at pass rush, coverage. Let's look at rush defense, and then we'll call it a day here. Tennessee defenders, who was the best against the run? Tennessee allowed 54 yards on the ground altogether. Really, really solid day against Texas A&M. Elijah Herring had the best rush defensive grade, and that is at 82%. Wesley Walker was a 79%. Amari Thomas was a 74%. Bryson Eason, 72%. Aaron Beasley at 72%. Again, these are all above average starters. And Elijah Herring was in the very good category. Karad Garland, 68%. James Pearce, 67%. Kamal Haddon, 65%. I mean, you go up and down the list here. The lowest grade against the run for a Tennessee player on the day was Tyler Barron at 58%. And that is 1.3% below an average starter. So Tennessee was so good against the run against Texas A&M, and these grades reflect it. Anyway, those are the stats that matter per Pro Football Focus. We do it every single Wednesday right here on Locked On Vols. Coming up next, Josh Ward, 99.1 The Sports Animal, and looking forward to catching up with Josh Ward as we do every single Wednesday for Ward Wednesday. That's coming up next right here on Locked On Vols. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home a winning trophy is always what keeps your ride or die alive. All right, eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and leveled up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED lights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money is back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. It's pretty nice, right? With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive today at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. We conclude our Wednesday edition of Locked On Vols as we do every single week. It's Ward Wednesday with Josh Ward, 99.1 The Sports Animal, co-host of Josh and Swain with VFL Jason Swain. That's noon to 3, Monday through Friday. Josh, Tennessee's 5-1. Tennessee is 2-1. A big-time matchup that Tennessee can win on the road this week at Tuscaloosa. Will it? That's why you play the game. But Tennessee is a 9-point underdog. That total continues to creep down. It's at 47.5 at the time of this recording. Kind of shocking to believe that for a Josh Heupel coach team. But nonetheless, Tennessee got a big win this past weekend and now move on to a 2-game swing that will really make or break the season.
Yeah, last year the losing team in this game scored more than that total. And now we're wondering, can both teams get to that number combined? It is a different kind of matchup going in this year. It's obviously on the road as opposed to the favorable Neyland Stadium setup. And we'll see if Tennessee can play better on the road. But when Tennessee played poorly in its last game on the road, the defense didn't have a great first half. I think everybody recognizes that. But over the course of this season, I think Tennessee's defense has shown it is one of the best groups in the SEC, which really makes it one of the best defenses in the country. And when you're going on the road, you need defense to be able to step up and help you. And I think the confidence is rightly high that Tennessee's defense can give Tennessee a chance this week. It's going to be a tall task. It's on the road. They're going to have revenge on their minds, as whether they're going to talk much about it or not. They want to avenge last year's loss in Neyland. And they're playing for SEC title. They want to go to the playoff. And Alabama knows this is one of the toughest tests remaining to try to get there. So they're going to be ready for this game. Are they going to be able to make plays? Can Tennessee's defense continue to apply the kind of pressure that has caused problems for Alabama this season? That's going to be a big key in this game.
More on Alabama in a moment, but Josh, which one was more surprising for you? It's such a weird game, and I've gone over this on Locked On Vols all week long, but that you won a game where your quarterback was completing 50% of his passes and threw for 100 yards, or you barely won a game where you had 234 yards rushing against the SEC's best rush defense. I mean, Tennessee should have blew them away with that stat. But which one was more surprising to you? The fact that Tennessee ran so well against A&M, or the fact that Milton struggled to the degree through the air?
Probably struggling to that degree through the air. I don't know how many times I have or will see a team have more penalty yards than passing yards in a winning effort, but it happened this past weekend. Now, I didn't expect Tennessee to run for that kind of yardage. It's probably a reminder why we can't say the key stat to the game going in will be this, because if I knew the rush yardage for Tennessee going in, I would have picked Tennessee to win by several scores. if I only knew the passing yardage going in, I would have picked Tennessee to lose by maybe multiple scores. But the rush yardage allowed Tennessee to be able to keep itself in the game while the offense was not able to finish up enough drives. The defense stepped up and made so many plays. And, of course, you have the special teams turn of events from downing the punt to returning the touchdown, because all of this led to 13 offensive points for Tennessee, which is, again, hard to believe when you know what Tennessee was able to do running the football. But my takeaway coming out of it, Eric, was, okay, I know how things went against Florida, but Cooper Mays wasn't out there. I'm not saying they would have won the game with him. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But with Cooper Mays at center, I'm going to give this team a chance with the way Jaylen Wright is running and others are involved, including Joe Milton in the run game. I'm going to give them a chance to be able to run against anybody. If they could do that against Texas A&M, Tennessee should be able to run with success, or at least have a chance to, against anybody anywhere.
Speaking of Cooper Mays, and kind of looking back at the Florida game earlier this year where Tennessee struggled pre-snap penalties, and that was an issue in Athens, Georgia last year. You do have Cooper Mays back. It's not like he fixes everything, but what's your confidence level? Maybe this is something you can ask Jason this week, going on those roads in the mighty D2 world. I didn't have to deal with this, but, I mean, how do you prepare to deal with crowd noise? I mean, you can blare music at practice. I get that, but what's your confidence level with Cooper back that Tennessee can cut down on some of those pre-snap penalties and not start drives behind the sticks?
Yeah, that is something to talk about this week. And Cooper being there has to help. He has to help with just the direction of the offense coming out of the South Carolina game. So last week when Dylan Sampson met with the media, he was talking about, despite the fatigue that Cooper was feeling as the game went along, because it was his first game back, he was still the first one to the line. He's the guy that obviously gets the football and is snapping it to the quarterback, but it allowed them to get into some kind of rhythm offensively, which should help, you would think, in pre-snap situations. Again, the South Carolina game was at home, and this past Saturday was at home. The conversation flips, just like Alabama was affected last year in Neyland Stadium, and we've seen Tennessee be affected on the road, not only this year at Florida. That's the only true road game Tennessee has played, but you think about last year, forget about the Vanderbilt game. That doesn't really matter. South Carolina on the road and Georgia on the road. It was a challenge for Tennessee. So it's one of the biggest questions going in this week. How will Tennessee handle things on the road? Because anybody skeptical going in, anybody that is saying, I don't trust that Tennessee is going to play well on the road, is going to need to see some kind of positive performance before their mind is changed. It's one of the biggest concerns I have for Tennessee is everything that we've talked about Tennessee doing well has either happened in Neyland Stadium or talking about the opener against Virginia was essentially a home game in Nashville. Going to Tuscaloosa this week with that crowd is going to be a completely different situation.
All right, if you're Tennessee's defensive coordinator, Tim Banks, how are you playing Jalen Milroe? Now, of course, we know offensively you're going to have to protect. Dallas Turner's really good off the edge. This defense for Alabama's, pretty much a typical Alabama defense. Offensively, I don't know what Paul Feinbaum was talking about earlier in the week. I mean, this is not an impressive unit. Now, that's why you play the game. Tennessee's still going to have to go out there and try not to allow the quarterback to run for 500 yards. But, you look at the stats. I mean, they're 9th, 10th in the conference, pretty much every stat. I think they're 8th in scoring. Fact of the matter is, how would you play this Alabama offense with Jalen Milroe, who's capable of taking over the game with his legs if allowed?
Yeah, I agree with you. Feinbaum's comments, or at least the description of the offense, does not make a lot of sense to me. Personnel-wise, they do have a lot of talented players. Everybody recognizes that when you go back to recruiting. One of the biggest misses I've had this season to this point, Eric, is I thought Alabama would be elite running the football with the offensive line personnel and a running back room that doesn't necessarily have that elite number one guy, but a bunch of guys that were top 100 players in recruiting. It just hasn't transpired to this point. Jalen Milroe is the most athletic quarterback that Tennessee will have faced to this point this season. This past Saturday, if Max Johnson had Milroe's athleticism, he could have tried to do something else. When he was sacked by James Pearce, it was Pearce against the lineman who backed into Johnson and he fell down. Milroe has the ability to maybe see some space in front of him and at least step up, but also take off. Tennessee has not faced that kind of guy. And we've seen in the past against lesser Tennessee defenses, running quarterbacks kill Tennessee's defense. It's always a fear. So continuing to apply pressure, take away the run game, which Tennessee's been very good at overall this season, aside from a few explosive plays that have been given up, but also containing Jalen Milroe and not allowing him on a 3rd and 11, which will pop up a couple of times probably, for him to escape and see a whole bunch of grass and go run for 15 yards. And all of a sudden they're able to get into a rhythm offensively, and Tennessee's being pushed backwards, and things can change quickly. So the pressure should be there from Tennessee's defense. Alabama has allowed a lot of sacks. A running quarterback like Jalen Milroe might hold on to the football, waiting for a chance to either make a play down the field, which he's capable of, or with his legs. And the longer he holds the ball, the more time that allows James Pearce, Tyler Barron, and others to get to him. They haven't needed that much time, by the way. So there will be matchup advantages for Tennessee up front, and then trying to avoid the big explosive plays because, again, Bama's capable of that too. Milroe can hit balls down the field, and they've done it the last couple of weeks. So Tennessee has to be prepared for that threat.
Yeah, look at the Texas A&M game. Out the door here, Josh, I just kind of want to get your thoughts on this. I understand where some fans are coming from. I mean, Tennessee's 5-1, Tennessee's 2-1. That does not mean Tennessee is absent of blame here or worry about some of the play. I mean, quarterback play's got to be better. Fact of the matter, quarterback play has got to get better. And I don't think anybody on this program would say any otherwise. However, I mean, Tennessee can go down to Tuscaloosa and has a real shot at winning this football game. Tennessee is still a solid football team. Tennessee can go and win. And if Tennessee wins on the road at Tuscaloosa, would not surprise me whatsoever, and it shouldn't surprise anybody listening. That's just my opinion. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, it just feels like we're so doom and gloom right now as a fan base or people covering the team, just because the quarterback was so bad last week, and there's some limitations with the quarterback. But I mean, do you see it like I do? I mean, Tennessee can go down there and win this football game, and if you win this football game, you win on the road, huge game. You beat a rival 2 times in a row. You're 6-1. You're 3-1, and I mean, you're setting up pretty nicely for the rest of the season.
Yeah, we just have to adjust the how aspect of the conversation. How could Tennessee beat Alabama last year? By scoring as many points as possible. And they were able to get that done because they had Hendon Hooker, who was a special player at quarterback, and Jalen Hyatt, who was a special playmaker at wide receiver. Tennessee does not have that. That's not the how for Tennessee. Maybe some explosive plays connect this week. I'm not saying that can't happen. That's not the expectation going in. Tennessee is not going in saying, hey, Joe Milton, go win us a football game through the air. Joe Milton has to be a running threat in the offense, and Tennessee needs to find consistent success on the ground, or I don't expect the offense to have a ton of success. But Tennessee is riding with its defense. If Bryce Young were Alabama's quarterback again this year, I would not give Tennessee much of a shot. But Jalen Milroe is, and he's not Bryce Young. He's not a Heisman winner and contender like Bryce was the last 2 seasons. So we have to adjust the conversation of how Tennessee gets the job done. If Tennessee were playing Washington and Michael Penix this week, or one of the explosive Pac-12 teams of what we're seeing, then it would be a different conversation. But this is an Alabama team that has struggled as well to get things going offensively and put up big numbers. Maybe they break out this week. That's what they're going to try to do against Tennessee's defense. But on the flip side, they're probably not all that confident that they're going to allow that to happen. So Nico's not in play, as far as I'm aware, to take over for Joe. Maybe something happens there. We don't see practice. We don't see what's going on. But I do think we have to ask, okay, if the coaching staff hasn't really even considered it, as far as I'm aware, then why is that? That may be a lack of trust in Nico, a fear for him as well, because Joe is still taking some hits. He's seeing pressure. How would Nico handle that? Maybe not well. So I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I know that Joe is their guy. So we have to adjust the how Tennessee can get it done conversation. It's completely different from a year ago, which is fine as long as you get the job done. Tennessee being 5-1 despite its offensive issues is a positive sign to me for the program.
Noon to 3, 99.1 The Sports Animal, Josh and Swain. Josh Ward along with VFL Jason Swain. Of course, you got the newsletter coming out every Friday morning. And what do you got coming up on that newsletter and the rest of the week on your shows?
Yep, big week. We had a Cover Tuesday segment with Jonathan Wade. He's always great. Last week he said we have to run the football against Texas A&M. He wouldn't avoid it. And what did Tennessee go do? Run the ball. Also, Joey Kent scheduled to join us later in the week. VFL legend. He'll be the SEC legend representative for Tennessee with some positive history against Alabama. So, yeah, this is a big week. It's fun that this game matters and is expected to be competitive as it was a year ago.
All right, you can download and subscribe that Josh and Swain newsletter by looking at the show description of this show, both on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. Josh, appreciate it, man. Thanks so much.
Hey, thank you, Eric.
All right, we do it every single Wednesday. Josh Ward for Little Ward Wednesday. Love how we finish off the show. Some good perspective from Josh_Ward. Good show here on a Wednesday. Took a look at the stats that matter per Pro Football Focus. We do that every single week, looking back at the game that was, and of course, looking ahead. We'll get some Pro Football Focus stats on Jalen Milroe, some of these other players as the week goes on for Alabama. Until then, got a big shows coming up the rest of the week. Couple of crossovers. We'll have Boogie Bentley. We'll take a look at Locked On Bama as well, and more of your questions. All that and more here on Locked On Balls. Appreciate you guys, and we'll see you again tomorrow.